All right, guys, so today's skill is on the Pythagorean theorem. We covered that a little bit last week in class, or excuse me, 2 weeks ago in class, as well as last week on IXL. Okay, so the Pythagorean theorem, c squared equals a squared plus b squared. You guys all know that. But a little more specifically, c is the hypotenuse. Okay, so it's hypotenuse squared equals A and B are both called legs, leg squared plus leg squared. So the question is, which one is the hypotenuse? Okay, so given a picture like this, the hypotenuse is always across from the right angle. So if I take the corner of that right angle box and I draw through the triangle straight across, that shows me clearly that this missing side here is C, it's the hypotenuse. Another way to think about it is that right angle is formed by these two sides, right? The 4 and the 5. The hypotenuse is the other one. The hypotenuse does not touch the right angle. Okay, so now my equation c squared equals a squared plus b squared, and I know I'm solving for c. Okay, so in this case, c squared equals 4 squared plus 5 squared. Okay, 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25. Add those up, you get 41. Okay, now the last step when you have c squared equals a number is to square root both sides. And so c is the square root of 41. Now, before you submit your answer, it's very important you do two things. One, is it a perfect square? Okay, you're checking, do I have radical 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36? Hopefully you guys can make this list on your own. Okay, if your number under your square root is any of these numbers, then your answer should be a whole number. For example, if you had radical 36, your answer would just be the whole number 6, no square root. Okay, but 41 is not one of these numbers. Okay, so when it's not a perfect square, number 2, the question you're asking yourself is, does it ask for exact value or does it ask for nearest tenth? Okay, so now go back to the question. Find the exact length. Okay, when it says exact, that means it wants it in radical form. Okay, so meaning your answer is just radical 41. You don't need to put this in your calculator, and this skill, level 1, doesn't even make you reduce or simplify the radical. So since it says exact form, that's our answer, radical 41. It'll show you why you got it right, or if you got it wrong, it will explain it. Okay, now let's move on to another one that doesn't say exact length. Exact length. Okay, so this one's a nearest tenth one. All right, so if it says to the nearest tenth, that example you're actually going to be putting in your calculator and getting a decimal value. Okay, so to the nearest tenth, you've got to actually put in your calculator. Now, this is a good problem as well because it's a little different. It makes you solve for a length. It gives you the hypotenuse. As you can see, 9's the hypotenuse. So 9 squared equals 6 squared plus, I'll call the missing one b squared. 9 squared is 81. 6 squared is 36 plus b squared. In my calculator, I go 81 minus 36, and I get 45, right? So b squared equals 45. Last step, square root both sides, so b equals radical 41. And since it asks to the nearest tenth, or excuse me, b is radical 45. Since it asks to the nearest tenth, I'm actually putting that in my calculator. Radical 45 is approximately 6.7. Okay, and that's the answer you're submitting. It asks for the nearest tenth, not exact.